Scott Wetzel is not for everyone. For instance, sane people who can easily tell right from wrong or strongly urge to change the channel. Doctors Radio declared listening to Scott Wetzel can be hazardous to your health and can cause sickness, strokes, or wanting to take long walks on short piers. Feelings of agitation, dizziness, depression, frustration, and cold sweats are common when listening to Scott. You can have a bad reaction, such as confusion, redness in the face, teeth clenching, fist pounding, wanting to put a fork in your eye, and feeling the need to throw your radio out the window. Listeners have also reported increased swearing, trouble sleeping, and a strong desire to gamble. Truckers and drivers are urged to stay away. Learn from Jack from Arkansas. As for women, don't even think about it.
Oh no, my nipples clearly got erect.
You've been warned. Now, here's your host, Scott Wetzel.
And welcome to the Scott Wetzel Show, right here on FanStreamSports.com, the home of the Scott Wetzel Show. Here for the next hour and a half or so, taking a look at the world of sports. Send some emails, swoppositepicks@yahoo.com, or just go to the website, oppositepicks.com. Hit the contact Scott icon and fire away. Tweets at Opposite Picks. That's OPPOSITE Picks, PICKS. Email me. Again, go to the website, oppositepicks.com. Hit the contact Scott icon, fire away. YouTube chat as well at the Scott Wetzel Show. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, please. What are we going to talk about today? Did the Dodgers just lose the World Series? Unrelated story. Did the Dodgers just get swept by our beloved Red Sox? Baseball trade deadline is today. WNBA trade deadline was yesterday. Who knew? Benches clearing brawl in baseball over a ground screw. More baseball winners on fire yesterday or last week, and I hope to continue that today. And how about betting on yourself to not show up? We'll get to all those stories, some tweets, some emails, little YouTube chat as well over the next hour and a half, as we hope to find some winners as well. What's going on, LLs, LWs, loyal watchers, loyal listeners? How are you on this Monday afternoon? Rainy here in New York, rain in the forecast actually for the next 3-4 days, so kind of dreary. Let's tell my producer. The wife went away for 5 days, I guess it was. She's in the middle of that. The daughter went away for 3-4 days. I figured I was going to have a nice, peaceful 4 or 5 days. No big deal. Just relax. Maybe go to Atlantic City. Maybe do this. Maybe do that. But it's really been more chaotic than anything else for me. Whether it's the sports stuff going on with all the news over the weekend, whether it's the rain, whether it's the dog that I didn't think I'd have to babysit for, but I do, whether it's the flights that got canceled, delayed, changed, switched. You can't fly these days. I don't like flying. Not that I'm like afraid of flying, but I just don't. I don't like flying. I'd rather drive. I've always been a driver. You want to drive to Chicago, fly to Chicago? I'll drive to Chicago. Probably beat you there with all the delays going on, right? So I kind of stay away from that, but other family members don't. And it's just been one headache after another. Really just reaffirming why I don't like to fly. So anyway, what should have been a calm, nice, peaceful, fun 3, 4, 5 days has turned into anything else. But that said, picking out some more winners on Friday. We went 2-1 with our picks. We finished up 6-2 for the week. Now 14-5 over the last 2 weeks combined. Not bad. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And then we got a few more winners for you today before we get into all that stuff. We got the Tarik Skubal trade. Haven't heard anyone tell you what I'm about to tell you, but I wonder if the Dodgers just lost the World Series. We'll get to that. Speaking of the Dodgers, how about the Red Sox not only sweeping them in Los Angeles, but outscoring them 20-10 in the process. Now, listen, if you're going to win all the games, you're going to outscore them, obviously, but you don't necessarily have to double their score. You can win 5-4, 3-2, 6-5, whatever, 4-3, whatever the case may be, and outscore them by 3, 4, 5 runs. But they kicked their butts. 20-10. They are now 29-5. Their last 34 games are the Red Sox. 29-5. I don't know where that stands all time. I meant to look that up. I'm sure it's not a record because we've had 20-plus game winning streaks. But, man, that's pretty damn good. Never saw this coming. Never in a million years. Now they start a series against the White Sox. pretty good team, but they just swept them in Chicago last week. Then they got the A's, Toronto, and Pittsburgh after that. We've talked about this before here on the show, that their schedule is ridiculously easy, as all American League team schedules are, because the AL is so bad. So unless you're playing the Stankies, Tampa, or really Tampa Bay, and maybe the White Sox, but they're not putting any fear into anybody, right? Give them credit for what they're doing. But, it's hard to have a hard schedule in the American League. It really is. But you play last place Toronto, you play lousy Pittsburgh, you play last place A's. There's no reason why they can't keep this thing going. I know they're not going to win every single game, but, I was hoping for 8-4 after they had their winning streak snapped. And they're well on pace to beat that. Never envisioned them sweeping the Dodgers. And like I said, not only winning, but really controlling the play. In game number 2, I think there's one that they got outplayed, but they ended up winning 3-2. But game 1, they won 8-4 last night, won easily. So I don't know. I really don't know if this is going to have people say, oh, my God, they really are, World Series worthy. They could be the best team in the American League, or they can even beat the Dodgers. Don't know. But for a team that underachieved and now maybe overachieving, and this is, in all honesty, not that I ever lied to you anyway, but this is kind of where I figured they would be at the beginning of the year. I do have a ticket on them to win the World Series, and I never bet on my favorite teams to win the World Series or Super Bowl. I don't want to put the black cloud on them. But I had their team total over as well. Bet it. I doubled down. Second half team total over. One of our team total overs that will go over. We'll probably do that tomorrow. Just kind of recap things how they're going. But I thought they would be around 60-51. 8, 9, 10 games over 500. If you told me what would they be after 111 games, about 10 games over 500. Battling for first place with the Stankies. Didn't think Tampa Bay would be this good, but I figured the Stanks would, and didn't buy into Toronto and Baltimore. So. Even though the Blue Jays, went to the World Series last year. But so they are ultimately where we thought they would be, but we just didn't envision the trip that got us there. So 5 games back, they've won 5 in a row. Like I said, they're on absolute fire, 29-5 of their last 34 games. And, pinch ourselves is just, now forget the wild card, although that's still very much in doubt, right? But now the bigger picture is, winning the American League East. Because not only does that incorporate winning the division, but you're also going to have the best record in the American League. Houston is 3 games over 500 in the West, first place Houston. White Sox are 7 games over 500 in the Central, but no one thinks they're going to really, finish 15 or so games over 500. So the winner, more than likely, of the AL East is going to have the best record, hence first round bye in the playoffs. As much as I like baseball and some of the things they've done, I'm not a big fan of their the playoff system and the way they got it designed. I think it's dumb with these opening best-of-3 series. But that, you can win your division and get knocked out because you lose 2 games out of a best-of-3 series. That is so stupid. And that's why winning the division in the East, really is huge. Let's avoid that and get right to the, the second round where it's best-of-5. So Red Sox only 5 back, And Tampa Bay's got a series against Colorado, so that's, they should win that series. And Red Sox have obviously a tougher series against the White Sox. But so we can come out of this 3-game set, still 5 back. I would definitely take it. But man, they're getting pitching. They're getting hitting. I tried watching last night's game, by the way. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I enjoyed it a lot more Sunday Night Baseball when it was on the 4-letter network. I really did. I mean, NBC last night, it was just so fluff. Maybe it was just when I tuned in, but I got Bob Costas, kissing Oral Hershiser's ass, and they got Clayton Kershaw as part of the broadcast. They were talking about everything but the freaking game. I want to watch the game. I got one of the hottest teams in baseball. I got a Dodger team that's got the best record in baseball. They just acquired Skubal. I mean, can't you come up with something versus just ass kissing? I mean, it was off. I couldn't watch it. I went to watch reruns of Colombo. I'm like, you know what? The Red Sox are leading. I'll take a peek every now and again. And I tried a couple watch. Same thing. It was just like stupid stuff. Come on. I know they got to dumb it down. That you don't pay $1 gazillion, Scott, to talk to baseball fans for Sunday Night Baseball. I get it. You pay $1 gazillion for the Sunday night package so you can bring the casual, average Joe Schmo fan into the equation. This way we get the monster ratings. If you dumb it down, it'll bring more people in. It's bad for the baseball fan who follows their teams and follows the sport that we got to get all this fluff stuff when we want X's and O's. But Sunday Night Baseball is impossible. So I didn't even watch it. Like I said, after 5-10 minutes, I gave up on it other than just going back and checking out the score. So, but that said, Red Sox sweep, and how about that? Just a great. We'll get to the Skubal thing here in a second. Let me just go over a couple of the baseball things from yesterday. How about the bench clearing brawl between Arizona and Cleveland? Right, first off, it's Arizona versus Cleveland, right? I mean, what kind of rivalry? If it's Cleveland versus Detroit, Cleveland versus Kansas City, one of the White Sox, one of the other teams in the division that they built a little rivalry over. Okay, I get it. But it's the Diamondbacks and Cleveland, right? So the guy from Cleveland is throwing a perfect game, but through 5. It was only in the 6th. In fact, I think it was the 5th inning, 5th or 6th inning, right? No big deal. They're down 5-0, and some guy in Arizona, Tim Tawa, T-A-W-A, never heard of him, right? He lays down a bunt, or at least tries to. No big deal, to try and get on base. And that apparently pissed off the Cleveland Guardians, where next pitch, the guy actually gets a base hit, and kind of says, see, told you dopes, you should have been happy with me bunting. But nothing occurs, right? So gets the base hit, and then the rains come, and they postponed the game, or at least stalled the game there. Guys are bringing the tarps on the field. This Tawa dude, Timmy, he's coming off the field. Gavin Williams, the pitcher, is coming off the field as well, and they get into this exchange, and they get into like a bench clearing brawl. Now, no punches were thrown, but this thing lasted a long time. One of the bench coaches for Cleveland, I think it was, or Arizona, wanted to go at it with one of the guys. I mean, it lasted a long time. These guys are trying to get the tarp on the field because it's pouring raining. And these two dopey teams are on the field for what? For a bunt in the 5th, 6th inning? I mean, first of all, it's you could do whatever you want, whenever you want. That's the bottom line with me. But even if you don't believe in that and you believe in, unwritten baseball rules, you don't bunt to break up a no-hitter and all that mumbo-jumbo, it was the 5th, 6th inning. It's not like the 8th and 9th inning. It was only a 5-0 game. The dude tried to get on base. I'm not supposed to try and get on base in the 5th, 6th inning because that's not right, because the other guy's pitching a perfect game. That's just baseball. That's the second time I saw this week. That's just dumb. I mean, every baseball fan in the world is calling for more bunting, and we got dopes on there that are like, no, you can't bunt because, oh my God, he's throwing 5 innings of a perfect baseball. Like no one's ever done that before. Stupid. Just stupid. So I'm flipping through on Twitter. I can't say I was watching the broadcast, but here's a little quirky thing. Who's the dude that says he's never had sugar before? Al Michaels has said he's never had vegetables, which is mind-blowing. One of the other radio guys, I forget who, it can't be he's never had sugar because everything that we eat has sugar in it, but he doesn't add sugar to anything, coffee, tea, cereal, whatever the case may be. I forget who that was. Michael says that, I don't know if you've heard that, like he's never had vegetables, doesn't eat vegetables. It's the stupidest thing in the world, right? I bring that up because Baltimore Orioles broadcaster Ben McDonald yesterday, remember the former pitcher, number 1 overall pick, never really quite lived up to the bill. He got hurt and just never panned out, right? So he's doing the Orioles broadcast. Says he's never used shampoo before. How do you wash your hair? Is he bald? I can see a bald guy saying that, but no, he's not bald, full head of hair. He just uses regular bar soap, he was saying in the broadcast. Just, why not? Why waste $1.50 on the shampoo when you can just use regular bar soap? And his partner, I don't know who it was just like, never, ever? Even when you were little, I'm sure maybe his mother did somewhere along the line, I would think. But like, no. People got weird, quirky things. I don't think I have anything to that point where I've said that I've never used. There's certain, like, I love salt. I love ketchup. There's nothing that I can think of off the top of my head that would make me say, no, I never did this. Like, I don't really wash my face too much. I wet it every once in a while. That maybe that's a quirky thing, just to keep this face nice and smooth here. But never using shampoo, huh? Interesting. So I just heard that yesterday. So the big story yesterday, the trade deadline is later on this afternoon, so I'll keep you posted on some deals. But the big story is really Tarik Skubal. So I got a couple of takes on this. let's go from the standpoint of the conspiracy, because we brought this up last week, and what's happened has happened. I really do believe this. I throw conspiracies out there, and some I believe a little bit more than others, but ultimately I do believe them, and I really believe this one. It goes back to what we said last week. We have a pending lockout, whatever you want to call it, coming up at the end of the season. Players' collective bargaining agreement ends at the end of the year. They got to get a new one. Owners want a salary cap. Supposedly, players don't. Fans, I think, for the most part, think there should be a salary cap because we're getting a little frustrated with the LA Dodgers spending all of this money, right? So being on the side or having the fans on your side is huge when it comes to this stuff, because you want the fans to support you. So when you go into the negotiating table with the other side, you say, listen, you're not negotiating against, us, 250 players. You're negotiating against the players and the fans. Fans are all on our side. You guys are looking like the villains. You guys are looking like the bad guys. So we need the fans on our side, whoever side it is. Same thing if you're the owners. You're not negotiating with 32 owners, players. You're negotiating with 32 or 30 owners and 50 million, 100 million baseball fans. They all think we need a salary cap. So, the longer you hold out on that, the worse you guys look. And do you really want that? I don't think so. So knowing that, and we said that last week, what did we tell you last week? What's the best thing for the owners to have happen? The Dodgers win again, the World Series, third straight year. Why? Because now the fan gets that much more frustrated because the Dodgers are spending $350 million. They have all this deferred money. They're getting every single player in the world. It's not fair. We can't compete. We're losing interest. The Dodgers are too good. It is what it is. So we need to make some changes. Hence, right? That's the follow-up to all that. We need to make changes in our system. So where does the conspiracy come into play? Well, it's pretty obvious, isn't it? The Dodgers, Major League Baseball, I believe, went to the Detroit Tigers and said, listen, we're in the fight of our lives. We have a huge, huge negotiating session coming up at the end of the year. And we're looking at lockout, strike, whatever you want to call it. And we need to have the fans on our side. So Dodgers, Tigers, you're going to have to take one for the team, and especially Detroit. How so? You got to trade Skubal to the Dodgers. Yeah, but they're offering me nothing. Doesn't matter. Yeah, but they're not even offering me their best prospect. Doesn't matter. They're not offering me their second best prospect. Doesn't matter. Third best. Doesn't matter. Fourth best. Doesn't matter. I don't care if they're offering you a hill of beans. You got to get Skubal on the Dodgers so the Dodgers have that much more of a chance to win the World Series, and the fans get that much more pissed off, and hence they're going to be on our side, Detroit Tigers. You're going to lose the battle, but we're going to win the war at the end of the year. The Dodgers don't care because all they want to do is just win, so whatever. The package they gave the Detroit Tigers, I refuse to believe that nobody in Major League Baseball was willing to offer more than what the Dodgers offered. They offered nothing. They offered their supposed fifth best prospect, their seventh best prospect, and their 17th best prospect. That's nothing. When you also consider, as we told you last week, if the Detroit Tigers hold on to Skubal and he leaves at the end of the year, they're going to get a compensatory pick at the end of the first round. So let's say they can get a guy that's as good as the Dodgers' fifth best prospect. Oh, well, realistically, they should get somebody better. But let's just say fifth, right? The last guy, the 17th best prospect for the Dodgers, is worthless. And the middleman is a 28-year-old minor leaguer. Who's in the minors at the age of 28? Nobody. They got nothing. They got absolutely nothing for the best pitcher maybe in baseball, the Cy Young Award winner. I mean, it is. So why would they make that trade then, Scott? Because they got to get Skubal to the Dodgers. The owners got to have the Dodgers win the World Series again, and then they'll get every single fan that's a baseball fan on their side at the end of the season. Simple as that. And that's what I really honestly believe. You can't tell me whether it's Tampa Bay, whether it's Boston, whether it's the Stankies, whether all the teams, whether it's Milwaukee. You're telling Milwaukee wouldn't give up their third best prospect or their fourth best prospect with a chance to win the World Series, a chance to put up Mizorowski and Skubal back to back, not only would they be good, they would be better than the Dodgers starting rotation wise. You could go head to head. You could go into a best of 5, best of 7 series with realistically having a hope to win that series. What baseball team wouldn't do that, even if it means it's just 1 year, even if they know they're not going to re-sign them? They all would, unless the owners got together and said, no, can't have it. We can't have Milwaukee winning the World Series. Why not? Because they're a low market team. Because their payroll is next to nothing. We can't have Cleveland winning the World Series. We can't have Tampa Bay winning the World Series. Those are the bottom feeders when you look at the 30 ranked teams as far as payroll. If we have one of those teams winning the World Series, how are we going to tell the fans and how are we going to tell the players in a straight face the system is broke when we got the Tampa Bay Devil Dogs or the Cleveland Guardians who are spending $80 million a year? Everyone else is spending $200 million winning the World Series. Can't do it. We got to get the Dodgers. So I do believe that. I really do. I think Detroit took one for the team. And if something quirky happens somewhere along the line, like getting the first overall draft choice, if you're the Dallas Mavericks, when you make the stupidest trade in the history of the NBA, maybe you want to buy into the conspiracy with Luka being traded to the Lakers, we'll give you the Cooper Flag, the number 1 overall pick. So that's issue number 1 I have. Here's issue number 2 that I've not heard anyone do, which is why you always tune in to me. Thank you very much. Let me just go to the website. Now, in case you didn't know, Tarik Skubal is a left-handed pitcher. So what? Well, now they got 2. They got Blake Snell, if healthy. Now they got 2 left-handed pitchers. All right. Who are they going to face in the World Series? There's only a handful of Red Sox, Tampa Bay, New York Yankee teams, right, that they're realistically going to face in the World Series. Just out of curiosity, Scott, what are those teams' records against left-handed pitching? Tampa Bay is 22-11 against left-handed pitchers. The Stankies are 26-17 against left-handed pitchers. The Red Sox are 18-11 against left-handed pitchers. I'll throw you Houston to be fair, but I really don't think Houston's getting there. Houston is only 13-16. The 3 previous teams all have much better records against left-handed pitchers than they do right-handed pitchers. The Red Sox are only 2 games over 500 against righties, 7 against lefties. That's a 9-game split. That's a difference. Stankies are 9 games over 500 against lefties, only 5 against righties. And the righties, obviously, you're going to face a righty a lot more. So it's really, while it's 7 versus 5, or rather 9 versus 5, the percentages are really the wide gap. Tampa Bay Devil Dogs, to a lesser extent, 11 games over 500 against lefties, only 8 against righties. And again, if you double it, which is what you'd have to do because they face twice as many righties as lefties, the percentage would really be 44-22 versus 43-35 like they are against right-handed pitchers. How about National League, Scott? Maybe they don't get to the World Series. All right, fair enough. Let's go Atlanta Braves. Atlanta Braves are one of the rare teams where it's a pretty even split. They're 40-26 against righties, 27-19 against lefties. Same winning percentage. Philadelphia Phillies would be the one team, because of their left-handed bats, that they would be helped out getting another lefty in the rotation. Philadelphia, 9 games over against righties, 3 games under against lefties. All the others that you would realistically, how about the Milwaukee Brewers? The Brewers are good against everybody. 48-31 against righties, 21-11, 10 games over 500. Winning percentage even higher. That would equate to 42-22. Again, same thing. You got to face the Cubs in the World Series? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. Cubs are the same thing. Same winning percentage, righties versus lefties. Arizona Diamondbacks, right? Making a great run here. Diamondbacks 18-9 against lefties. They're under 500 against righties. So every team outside of Philadelphia that they will realistically have to face on their way to a World Series are much better against left-handers. So as good as Skubal is, and I'm not the biggest fan of Tarik Skubal, but as good as he is, I got to admit it. On paper, it doesn't necessarily equate to, okay, automatic, 3-game, 4-game sweep for the LA Dodgers. It really doesn't. All these teams seem to play much, much better against left-handed pitchers. So does that incorporate, the Tarik Skubals of the world? No, he's obviously better than your average left-handed pitcher, but, just something to consider before you start anointing the LA Dodgers as your World Series champs. Listen, they nearly lost last year to Toronto. And, the other thing people aren't really considering is, the health of these guys. If they all got healthy, and if they all were able to pitch, and if they were all able to, hit, then, yeah, the Dodgers would be hands down absolutely the best team in Major League Baseball. So here's another one. Four-Letter Network is saying the Dodgers are acquiring left-hand pitcher Chris Bubik in a trade from Kansas City. I don't know if anyone's going to be yelling and screaming about that, but it just doesn't stop with this team. I will say it. I'm trying to help you out here, Dodgers. I really am, and you keep on trading for more and more pitchers. So what does that tell you? Again, how many games has Tyler Glasnow pitched? 5 or 6? How many games has Blake Snell pitched? Like 2 or 3? They hope to get these guys back, but, the way they're acquiring pitchers, Snell won. So I was off by 1 there. Snell pitched 1 game this year, and Glasnow pitched 7. So, if all those guys, if you got Ohtani healthy, and if, Robleski continued to pitch the way, if Yamamoto stays healthy, yeah, then you know what? In a best of 7, but it's like doubling down. It's like saying, we'll put it in betting terms. All right, I won $1,000. Okay, good. I was 6-0 on Saturday. Okay, good. And I was 2-0 on Sunday. Okay, good. And I was 3-0 on Monday. I know that you told me you won $1,000. You keep on repeating things to support the main premise is that you won $1,000. I get it. All the stats are going to be good if you won $1,000, right? Same thing with the Dodgers. You could have 5 great starting pitchers in the regular season. That's unbeatable. But in the postseason, you only need 3. So because you're going with Yamamoto, we'll say, in game 4 of a series, and the team you're facing is coming back with their ace because he only needs 4 days rest, what's the difference? Yeah, you got depth, but you don't need depth in the postseason. You only need 3 starting pitchers. That's all you need. And then you turn it over again because of the days off and the ridiculous schedule that you get in the postseason. You don't need 4 or 5. The Dodgers have 4 or 5. That's not really going to help you any. It's just, okay, yeah, you're good. I get it. And you can have 12 starting pitchers that are great, but you can't use them unless 1 or 2 go to the back end of the bullpen. So I don't, listen, they help their cause, certainly, but who's the odd man out, right? Let's just say, perfect storm. Snell and Glasnow all come back, and they're all healthy, which, they might be. Who's sitting out? Yamamoto, the World Series hero last year? No. Ohtani? I don't think so. You're paying him $50 million a year? I don't think so. Skubal? I don't think so. I mean, you just traded for him. So would it be Snell? He was terrific in the postseason last year. Would it be Glasnow? I mean, somebody has to sit out. So it's just a piling on type of thing. I really think the Dodgers, although this Bubik trade, it does kind of throw a little wrinkle into this, but I really thought it was more the Dodgers acquiring him, so maybe another team wouldn't. It's like, do we really need him? No, Wetzel's kind of right. I mean, we got enough guys, but do we want him to go to Milwaukee? No. Do we want him to go to Philadelphia or Atlanta? Hell no. So let's trade for him, and if we don't really use him that much, then so be it. So, like I said, it's baseball, and it was a trade, as people point out. It wasn't a free agent signing. Maybe they re-sign him at the end of the year. Who knows? But don't blame the Dodgers. Blame all the other dopey teams. If you want to believe, and again, I don't, but if you want to believe this trade was on the up and up, then blame all the other teams. Why wouldn't Milwaukee? Right? I mean, they got a realistic chance to win the World Series. They got a chance to win, to have the best record in baseball this year. And they had a similar spot last year and they failed. Why wouldn't they go the extra mile? Why wouldn't Tampa Bay? Their farm system is great. Every time we turn around, there's another player in that Devil Dogs farm system coming up that we never heard of. To give up a couple of guys, who cares? Why wouldn't these teams pony up just a little bit more? I mean, the Dodgers gave, again, nothing. So, I don't get it. Unless, like I said, unless what I'm telling you is true, and I really believe it. I think baseball said, listen, you guys got to take one for the team. We got to get the Dodgers to win again. Tampa Bay, you can't win. Milwaukee, you can't win. Cleveland, you can't win. You just can't. Because we'll never win at the bargaining table if we have a low-salary team win the World Series. I mean, how can we? So let's step in. Be tough to prove, but then listen, they've been guilty of conspiracies before, and try to arrange things the way they really like it. All right, quick little break here. Let me throw Bryce Harper real quick before we get to the break here, Tim. Let me do this because we're finishing up on the Dodger stuff. Here's this is the best approach you can have about what the LA Dodgers.
I want to be a Dodger, right? Like everybody's, that's crazy. No, they do it the right way because they draft well. They get guys in their organization that are Dodgers. Like there's teams that oh yeah, that's a Cardinal. Like he definitely plays like a Cardinal. Oh, this guy plays like a Dodger. This guy plays, like a Philly. Like there's certain teams and certain individuals you get into your organization. You're like, he's going to be a guy for us because he matches the mold of our team, our city, our organization, right? When the Dodgers go out there and do their job, and yeah, they have more money than everybody. Like I get that. But you still have to put pen on paper and go out and play. Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, we're better than everybody. Like no, you still have to go out there and do your job and play well and whatever. They run it the right way. They run a business. They're smart. They understand what they need to do off the field, on the field, in their clubhouse, management, everything. And so they do it the right way. And I think more organizations can learn from them how to run their organization because they do draft well and they do things the right way in their minor league systems that make their players great too. They have some random guy that comes in and throws 6 innings in the postseason like it's nothing.
It's just true. That's a player standpoint. Like, I don't think the players say, oh my God, the Dodgers are so good, we can't beat them. I don't think they realize that. I don't think they think that way. I really don't. And I think Bryce Harper, is a good example. He acknowledges they're really, really good, but he's also said, listen, but they still got to perform. You can't just walk out a baseball field and hit a ball 100 miles an hour without really concentrating and without doing your job. So, but I think that's the respect the Dodgers have around Major League Baseball. It's not an envious thing. It's not a hateful thing. It's not, they're bad for baseball type of thing. It's like Dodgers do it the right way. Simple as that. So, all right, quick little break. We'll come back. Anniversary. We'll get into something. Thurman Munson's death with the anniversary was yesterday, which I can't believe. I got some football notes to get to as well. We'll check the YouTube feed. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get some YouTube chat. And, of course, what would a day go by without making fun of the WNBA? We'll get to it all right here on the Scott Wetzel Show, Fan Stream Sports, on a Monday afternoon.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything. Turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Hey folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tom's Town, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tom's Town, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. And what is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things to showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Although it may seem tempting to go without health care insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for zero premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for zero monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go.
Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on a Monday afternoon, FanStreamSports.com, FanStreamSports.com. Do appreciate all those following us on YouTube with the Scott Wetzel Show. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, if you can, please. So a couple things to get to. So we talked a little baseball there, right? Yesterday was the day that was the anniversary of Thurman Munson's death. I remember that as a little kid. I really do. I was watching my black and white TV, said 1979. And that's when, as I told you before, Red Sox-Yankee rivalry now is kind of, maybe it'll pick up with the Red Sox doing really well and the Stankies being so bad. And obviously the Big Papi, the A-Roy days, that was pretty good. If that on a scale of 1 to 10, like now is about probably a 6. Big Papi, A-Roy, Manny Ramirez, those guys, that was a solid 8, pretty good rivalry, but they all kind of liked each other, right? The Munson fist, brawls with Lou Piniella and Bill Lee and all those guys, that was the 10. That's when it really was like, wow, these two teams really just absolutely hate each other, right? I used to go to Red Sox Yankee doubleheaders when I was a kid sitting in the upper deck. So I remember just, tuning the channel on, and I don't know how I landed on that. And then word came about how Thurman Munson passed away.
Just moved on the AP wire. It just came over the wire about 3 or 4 minutes ago. that Thurman Munson, the Yankee catcher, has been killed in a private aircraft crash near Canton, Ohio. We repeat our information. We had a call from the radio station saying the story had moved on the AP wire. The Yankee catcher Thurman Munson was killed in a private airplane crash near Canton, Ohio, or perhaps right at the Canton, Ohio airport.
Reminds me of Kenny Hubbs, who was the second baseman for the Cubs, who was killed in his own private plane in a crash near Salt Lake City a few years back.
Story did not say whether or not Thurman was flying his own plane or not, but might very well be. Ralph, as you point out, he is a pilot and has been flying back and forth to get home.
Then the game has come to a halt as the players looked at it and are stunned. Yankee catcher Thurman Munson was killed today in a plane crash near Canton, Ohio, and Mazzilli walking away from the batter's box over to the on-deck circle, obviously shaken by the message. It would get your attention.
Ralph, every player in the field for the Philadelphia Phillies standing motionless and staring at the message board. As you say, Lee Mazzilli saw it, was stunned, got out of the batter's box and walked away. You could hear a pin drop here at Shea Stadium.
Everybody in the ballpark stunned by the message on the bulletin board out in right center field. He can just feel the difference in the attitude of the people.
I've never experienced anything quite like that in a stadium before.
I have not either.
Wow. So if memory serves me right, they actually played that night. Here's the weird thing about that. Like, he actually survived the plane crash. No, he died in the plane crash. No, he didn't. He actually, the crash itself, he survived, but he broke his neck and his legs, for whatever reason, somehow or another. If you read the story, he's on the plane, he's practicing, landings and takeoffs, right? And because he was a young pilot, and he was up in the air with two of his buddies, Dave Hall and Jerry Anderson. Don't know who they are, right? So they come crashing down for whatever reason. I forget why they said. I don't know if it was pilot error or something with the plane. So plane comes crashing down short of the runway, hits a tree stump and a boulder. Now, I know it was short of the runway, but man, if I have an airport, I'm going to make damn sure my runway, it doesn't start right after woods. I got to clear another quarter of a mile short of the runway just in case something like this happens. So I don't know what the hell a tree stump and a big boulder was doing on the runway beforehand, but so it comes down short of the runway, hits this stump, hits this boulder, catches fire. He survives as his two buddies did, but he broke his neck. And then I guess the story goes they were trying to pull him out, and his legs were pinned in all the mangled plane. And he supposedly told them, "No, get out, go save yourselves. I'm as good as dead." And they did, and then they left him there, and he died. Fixation, all that smoke and everything. But how about that? I always thought he just died in a plane crash, didn't really look into it. And then I started reading up on it a few years back. It's like, wow, I didn't know he actually survived the crash. What would you do in that spot, right? I mean, he's your buddy. He's not a stranger. You're trying to get him out. The plane is on fire. He's telling you to leave. Eventually you just come to the realization, I guess you can't get him out, so you got to go save yourself. But, wow, that's weird. And I tell you, out of all the interviews that I've seen of different stories, like I don't ever, outside of me reading this story, and I forget when I read it, several years ago, but you would have thought, and maybe they just felt so bad, right? I mean, if you're this guy Hall and Anderson, I mean, just not that it was your fault, but, just like, man, why couldn't I do more? Why him? Why not me? One of those type of things, You hear about those stories all the time here in New York about 9/11, like guys that were supposed to go to work that day but decided didn't, or were supposed to be on one plane and went on another plane, and you always wonder why? How did I survive? And I'm sure that's how it was with these two guys, but I've never seen an interview like a sit down and discuss what happened. Never. So I don't know, like I said, I'm not sure why they didn't want to talk about it or whatever the case, but So the anniversary anyway was yesterday, August 2nd. So kind of, man, another reason why I don't get in those little airplanes either. Just no thanks. Our good buddy Michael Grant writes in, is Andrew Jones a Hall of Famer, Scott, on our YouTube channel? No, we talked about this, Michael, last week. No, he's, because last weekend he got inducted, him and Jeff Kent. And what's his face for the New York Mets there? No, they're not. None of them are. But probably the last on the list would be Andrew Jones. So the guy bats .254 for his career. He doesn't have. He's got 434 home runs, but only has 1,900 hits. So bats only .250. Doesn't even have 2,000 hits. He's got some home runs, big deal, and that's that. To me, I had 100 RBIs only 4 times. Good defensively, I get that, but nowhere close to being a Hall of Famer. Yeah, we discussed that last week, so that was a farce putting those 3 guys in. I'll live with Kent, but not the other 2. Some football news and notes from over the weekend. What a shock. Myles Garrett already dealing with a little soreness in his lower half of his body. Had to practice for the 3rd straight day. Boy, these guys are just frauds. They don't want to practice. That's all it is. That's why Aaron Donald, there's no doubt in my mind, Aaron Donald's going to join this football team, and it's going to come right around, I'm thinking even when the season begins, probably beginning of October, maybe the end of October, maybe around Thanksgiving, he'll get convinced. Maybe it'll be a little like, let's see what you guys really have before I, join forces. These guys don't want to practice. These veteran guys just don't want to practice. And the teams don't make them practice. There's like, you're right. You know what? No sense practicing if you're going to get hurt. Like Mike Evans of San Francisco. Boy, the 49ers receiving core is like down to nothing already again this year. Dealing with a hamstring injury. He's going to sit out the remainder of training camp. So they don't even know if he's going to be ready for week 1 when they take on the Rams over in Australia. These guys can't stay healthy, man. They just, I think they're just so roided up. I won't even say I don't know what it is. I think that's it. I think these guys are on so many roids. Maybe not stick a needle in your ass steroids like Alex Rodriguez, but whether it's pills or fluids or creams, all the junk they take. I was watching YouTube last night or X Twitter last night, and I heard Jose Canseco said he's been on steroids for the last 35 years. One of those, if you do it right, you'll be okay. And that's always been his mantra. That's been his thing. You can do steroids, but just do it the right way. I think these guys are doing just that. And I think it makes them so brittle that they get hurt with the simplest little thing. So Evans is now dealing with it. Sooner or later, they got to bring Ayuk back. They will, because otherwise they're going to be in trouble. And then Garrett's now in trouble with the LA Rams. Jahmyr Gibbs missed his 5th day of practice today, holding out. Looks for a new deal. He's entering the 5th final year of his contract. And listen, more power to you. I won't begrudge a football player in particular. NBA, they make $1 gazillion. Baseball, basketball, they all make $1 gazillion. Hockey. But football, I get it. You got to strike, especially a running back. You got to strike while the iron is hot. But you're either in practice or you're not, dude. That they have these new things called hold-ins. What's that? Well, if you don't go to practice, you get fined. And those days don't count for you. The crew. You got to go to practice. All right, but I don't want to practice, God. I'm in a hold. I'm in a protest. So how do I do my protest? Well, they go to practice, but they just don't practice. They stand on the sidelines and they watch practice. So that gets counted as going to practice. Listen, again, I'm all for you. Go get your money. Knock yourself out, running backs. But you're either in or you're out. If I was the head coach, I don't care. What's his face was a former player. You're either here or you're not. If you're going to be here, then you're going to get your ass out there. You want to get out there without shoulder pads on and other things? Go ahead. But if you're on my football field, you're practicing. If not, then go upstairs and then go watch from the press box or something. So, pick your poison here. Which one is it, Gibbs? Are you in or are you out? Why not just practice? I know you're risking getting injured, but you could walk around the block and risk getting injured. And then come game time, if you don't have a new deal, then you say that I'm not playing. Man, there's my holdout. I'll go to camp and I'll get in shape and I'll prepare for the season, even though I want a new deal. But I'm telling you right now, Detroit Lions in this case, if I don't have a new deal by September 12th, if we play September 13th as they do, I'm not playing. And that's when I'll begin my protest. Now, you won't get paid, but At least you won't get fined as well as not getting paid. But kind of pick your poison. I see Javion Clowney. What a bozo. Returning to the Houston Texans this weekend. Remember, they selected him number 1 overall after that great hit, Michigan, South Carolina game in the 2014. Wow, it was 12 years ago, right? First of all, he's the most overrated player maybe in the history of the NFL. But that said, he tells the Houston Chronicle, get a load of this. I've grown up and learned the game a lot more since last playing Houston when he left in 2018. I feel like I can help the younger guys. I've learned how to lead and what it takes to get to a Super Bowl. I feel like I can help this team. All right. What's the problem, Scott? Well, the problem is, where did he learn how to get to the Super Bowl? Well, somewhere along the line, one of his dopey teams went to the Super Bowl. He played for 5,000 of them. You're right. He did play for 5,000. Did he ever get to the Super Bowl with the Houston Texans? Not that I think, not that I know of. Did he ever get to the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seagirls? But maybe, you know what? Hold on. I might be wrong about this. You know what? And dare I say that? 2019, is that the year the Seagirls got to the Super Bowl? Maybe that's where he's referring to. If that's the case, then I'll just move on to the next guy I want to make fun of. They did not. All right. So we can continue to make fun of him. So did he get to the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seagirls? No, they did not, or he did not. Did he get to the Super Bowl with the Tennessee Titans? No. Super Bowl with the Cleveland Browns? Really? Super Bowl with the Baltimore Ravens? No. Super Bowl with the Carolina Panthers? No. Super Bowl with the Dallas Cowgirls last year? No. He's never been to the Super Bowl. So where did he learn on what it takes? Unless he's learning by failing. If you want to say, listen, don't be like me because it obviously hasn't worked for 12 years. Do just the opposite, hence opposite picks. Maybe that's what he's referring to. But otherwise, he's talking like he's a 3-time Super Bowl champ. No, you're not. Not even close to it. No, not even. And he really is. For being the number 1 overall pick, he's made so much money. The dude's never had 10 sacks in a season before. He's had 9.5 a few times. Well, 2 times. He had 8.5 last year. Which, for 30, what is he, 34? Yeah, something like that, right? 93, 03, 13, 23, 30, 33 years old. So, so 8.5 is not bad, but he's never had 10 sacks before. People treat him like he's the greatest sacker in the history of mankind. All these dopey teams, whether it was Tennessee or Cleveland or Baltimore, all giving him like 1 year, $8, $9, $10 million contracts. It's like, for what? For what? I mean, he doesn't make any other tackles. He's never had in one season more than 41 tackles. Take away the sacks, which obviously count as tackles as well. He's never had more than 32 tackles in one season. I mean, solo tackles. His tackle total, again, including his sacks, 24, 24, 24, 14, 24, 14, 21, 38, hit 41 with Houston, back-to-back years, 41, 40, 27, and 5. I mean, the guy, he's either a sack or invisible. So freaking overrated. Just so overrated. But that said, this Houston Texans team, they had the number 1 defense last year. Now, their schedule, like a lot of teams in the AFC South, was ridiculously easy. It was. Them and Jacksonville both finished up real strong down the stretch. Orioles trade Rushman, the catcher, to our beloved Red Sox. Who did we give up? Let us see. Acquiring 3-time All-Star Adley Rushman. He's on the IL. Only the Red Sox would trade for a guy who's hurt, but okay. Former pick, number 1 overall. Thanks for Little Network. You didn't tell us who they gave up. Sources tell ESPN's Jeff Passan. All right, Jeff, you're too stupid to ask who they gave up. Is that what you're telling me? Because I don't see Old for became reliable. The young son goodbye. Blah blah blah. Blah. Give it a rigors. This that and what have you. Nothing in there on who they gave up. Really. So your inside sources only had what Baltimore gave up to Boston. They didn't want to tell you what the Red Sox gave back to Baltimore, or were you too stupid to ask? Which one is it? So, all right. So he's former number 1 overall pick, having a mediocre year. So 8 homers, 251 RBIs, but he's a former All-Star, as we talked about, decent player. I'll take it. Never quite lived up to the hype. I will say that. And then, the Orioles are probably at that point where it's just like, you know what, we can't take it anymore. So under team control through the 2027 season. So they got 1 more year of him. From the surface, I like it, but I want to make sure that they give up a whole heck of a lot. But anyway, back to the Houston Texans. The Texans' record last year and Jacksonville down the stretch was phenomenal, right? So, but it was a real easy schedule. This year, a little bit more difficult of a schedule, but their over/under last I saw was 9.5. They got Buffalo, they have Cincinnati, they got Dallas, but at home. They got the Giants. They play looks like they play the NFC East. Because they got they got Giant, Dallas, Philadelphia, and Washington. So that's not too bad. They got the Browns on there. They got Pittsburgh on there. That's not too bad. They got Green Bay and that Philadelphia. That's not all things considered, that's not a bad little schedule, in addition to playing Tennessee twice and Indianapolis twice. So I think they get 10 wins. There are a couple teams that really are just, it's time to do it. CJ Stroud, it's funny, CJ Stroud and Houston and Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville are really at the top of the list of like, is it ever going to happen? Not that you're getting old, not that it can't happen somewhere along the line, but the buildup and the expectations of you guys and your teams was so big so early on, and you showed a lot of promise. You got to the playoffs. Are you ever going to take that next step? Or and the next step for them is being talked about like Baltimore and Buffalo and Kansas City. Maybe not winning, but just show me a little something where, okay, you know what? That's a 50-50 matchup, and you're as good as anybody. Right, but we have not seen that for those two teams. They get into the postseason and they just flop. So this year, maybe, but not because they got Javion Clowney. I will tell you that. So, and then the last little quickie one, Jalen Polk retired. Remember the Patriots drafted him in the 2nd round, 37th overall pick 2 years ago. Played 1 year with New England, played with the Saints last year in a trade. Finished his career with 12 catches for 87 yards. I mean, how do you make a mistake that badly? I mean, this is the 2nd round pick. 37th overall. That's only 5 picks into the 2nd round. He was almost a 1st round pick. When you sit down with this guy, personal reasons, he missed practice the last couple of days, I guess, because he's thinking about retiring. I mean, don't you read into like, okay, this guy doesn't, he doesn't look like he's all in. He really, I think I'd stay away. There's plenty of other wide receivers, Bill, we could draft. He doesn't seem like he's all in. And you can't read that by all the information you get talking to, former players of his or coaches of his or administrators or whatever the case may be. Really? So, people would give their left nut to be an NFL football player, right? This guy's got all the talent in the world and just doesn't want to play, And I get in the NFL, if you don't want to play, man, NFL and hockey, you can get away with that with baseball. You can get away with that in the NBA. Just don't score, But football and hockey, you don't want to play, you'll get your ass killed. And football, you don't want to play, you'll get your ass killed also. It's simple as that. So if your heart's not in it, especially as a wide receiver, and you're just dropping balls and not going over the middle, I get why he would retire as far as not wanting to play. I don't get why he wouldn't want to play. That's the weird thing. So, all right, quick little break. Getting women out of sports because I'm telling you, they're just ruining sports. The dumbest thing I heard this weekend, let's go down NFL memory lane. Speaking of Bill Belichick, we're here from Belichick, and we'll hear from Pete Carroll as well. All that's still coming up on the Scott Wetzel Show on this Monday afternoon right here on FanStreamSports.com.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything. Turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. And what is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things to showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Although it may seem tempting to go without health care insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for zero premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for zero monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza, hour and a half or so. Scott Wetzel, the Scott Wetzel Show, right here on a Monday, August. I think I've been saying July, as Mike was pointing out. Yes, it is August 3rd. Yours truly sitting in for the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. Went over some baseball stuff earlier today with the Tarik Skubal trade. Got a bunch of other trades going down, including the Red Sox picking up the Oriole catcher Rushman. Pretty good addition if everything's considered. Depending on what they gave up, which we've yet to find out. Red Sox sweeping the Dodgers last night, outscoring them 20-10 in the 3-game series, and then they're just playing absolutely great baseball, 29-5 over the last 34 games. Crazy. So talk a little NFL in hour number 2, so we'll continue along those lines. We brought this up last week. You know, this is the last year of Deshaun Watson's guaranteed money with the Cleveland Browns. So they're thinking about starting him. He was anointed the number 1 guy at the start of training camp. It's either going to be him or Sanders. I imagine one of those two anyway. So it was brought up to him, as we discussed, you know, if you have a good year, would you be open to actually re-signing with the Cleveland Browns? And listen, you'll listen to his answer, but I would be shocked. Well, it is the Cleveland Browns. I was going to say I'd be surprised if they were to re-sign him, but you never know.
I think, you know, when I first got here, there was a lot of stuff going on, as the world knows. But I don't have no bad feeling towards Cleveland. I love Cleveland. Me and my wife, we got our house on the east side, so we here all the time. We were here this summer. If you ask around, I'm at pretty much all the restaurants. I'm hanging out, so I haven't had a bad experience outside of, you know, just different times in the stadium. But again, I don't know why that narrative is out there that people think that I don't like Cleveland and my family. We've been enjoying it. We've been enjoying our time here, and yeah, that if the opportunity shows up, we'll see where it goes. But
I'm sorry. Last year when you weren't playing, you were still in the meeting and helping Gabriel and Sanders.
No, that's enough. That's all we really need to hear about that. Listen, of course he doesn't mind Cleveland. They're giving him $250 million to play a half a dozen football games over the last 4 years. No, he's got no problem with Cleveland, and it's the other way around. Cleveland should have the problem with him. You know, that should be the question. You know, maybe the reporter just threw it out there like, hey, you know, is this your last year, or would you consider re-signing with them? But yeah, you want to give me another $40 million, $80 million, $120 million over 3 years, which is probably what it's going to take? Sure, I'll take more of their dopey money. Speaking of dopey, dumbest thing I heard this weekend came from Tennessee backup quarterback Will Levis, who might not even be on a team a month from now. You know, he was put on IR last year, didn't play at all. So Tennessee signs Mitch Trubisky, by the way, this offseason, 2-year, $10 million contract. So pretty good money, right? Like they think Trubisky is going to be the backup, not Will Levis. So Levis, talking to the media for the first time on Friday or over the weekend, says he's a his word, good quarterback. And get a load of this. I know I put the tape out there already that I'm a dang good quarterback in this league. Didn't realize he was a hillbilly. And I'm even better than I've ever been. There are not 32 quarterbacks in this league better than me. I know that for sure. Hence, meaning he thinks he's a starting quarterback, 32 teams. So Will Levis, who never won a big game in his life, who's lucky he's on the roster, for goodness sakes. If he didn't get hurt last year, he probably wouldn't be, is saying he's one of the starting quarterback in the NFL. Oh, brother. I love these guys who just want to sound off without really accomplishing anything in life. Just like, really? Why? Because you were high draft. You had one good year in college, literally one good year. Not even your senior year, your junior year, and all of a sudden you think you're an NFL starting quarterback. And the only game he won, I think, was against our dopey Miami Dolphins on Thursday night a couple years ago, which still pains me. Looked like Joe Namath out there. Unbelievable. Let's go down NFL memory lane, shall we? Since we're talking a little NFL, always like to do stuff like this. How about we'll start with the Pete Carroll, one of the more famous, probably the most famous play as crazy as it sounds, in NFL history. Instead of handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch against the New England Patriots 6-7 years ago, whatever it was, he decides to call a pass play. And we all know what happened. Interception, Patriots win the Super Bowl when Seattle seemingly had it at their doorsteps. And good old Pete explaining his decision.
One of the first questions I asked him, I said, how many guys think it was the greatest thing in the world to win the Super Bowl? Raise your hand. And a bunch of guys raised their hand. And I said, how many of you think really the greatest thing in the world is to come back and win it twice? Raise your hand. And they didn't know what to do with that, But that's always been in my mind. I mean, I don't even know where that came from. I don't have any idea where that was generated from. But that was to show that you can do it again. Show that you're real. Show that no matter what happens, you can still be you. To the freaking moment, to the moment. Right. And you guys were so mad at me and so pissed.
We're hurt.
I wish I could feel it like the way I should feel it, but you got to keep going. That play just happened. Yeah. That play got called, just happened. It wasn't like by design. There was no foreshadowing, no intent, no agenda. That play just happened.
I believe that.
And I'm going to just tell you again, you guys couldn't hear it for years, but when we got down there, I think we had one, if I remember, we had one timeout. And so as soon as we got there, I said, one of these plays, we're going to have to throw it to get all 4 plays. Cause I'm always make sure that we have a chance to get all 4 shots, right. Regardless of what the first, second, third play was, let's make sure that we get all of our shots. And so we're smart about that. So that was heard over so one of these plays we have to throw it. And so we run the first play. And I think what happened is Bill late, he sends in the goal line team, and we had already sent in 11. Right. And so we're in 11 versus goal line. And so that went through the play callers. And that's what led them to throw it on that down. Right. It had nothing to do with anything else. Right. It was just, this may be if we got to throw one of these downs, which we've practiced it a million times, we're in that situation. We got to throw one of these downs. Let's pick it out, which is the right, whatever. It'll fall into place so that we get all our chances. Right. And so that's what happened. It wasn't by design. There was no agenda. There was none of that. It was just the way we had prepared. So I was rock solid on the philosophy of it. It just was the worst play that could ever happen, and it's just, and the guy makes he made a heck of a play of a lifetime, a play of a career for everybody's career, really. Right. And it turned all of that so dark, so instantly. Yeah. So then we going, and if you remember, my moment was, I bent down and think, oh shit, I got to take this. And so I thought this is one of those moments that you prepare for. You got to be the epitome of poise, handle it, deal with it, and own it, because there's nothing you can say that's going to put it any other place. It was just as catastrophic as any moment could be.
Yeah. And he did for the most part. He could have threw his offensive. It sounds like that's what he's saying. It was the offensive coordinator called the play. But I've always have said this. 9 times out of 10, that is how it works. But man, if I'm the head coach and I'm an offensive guy, I'm not letting an offensive coordinator call my plays, especially, at the end of the Super Bowl. But that's how the NFL is. But it sounds like he wanted to throw the offense, or he could have thrown the Darrell Bevins under the bus there, the offensive coordinator, but he didn't, so I give him credit for that. And I don't really think there was an agenda with that. People thought that they didn't want Marshawn Lynch to get the football because I'll say he was too black and they didn't want him to be the face of the league. So they got Russell Wilson. So they chose Russell Wilson a chance to be the hero. And not to mention who knew who Russell was going to be throwing the ball to. That guy would have been just as much of a hero, black or white, as Russell Wilson. So I never bought into that. Clock is rolling and you're thinking about who you want to be the hero. I really doubt that. I really do. Now, listen, I would have handed the ball off to Marshawn, and the worst things in the world. And that third down, I get what he's talking about, where we need to get 3 more downs in. We had to throw the ball at least one time, but boy, that you were just running the ball down their throat. They were shot. They were emotionally shot. Lynch almost scored on the preceding play, and it's just one of those things that just, man, that's stupid. That is just stupid. Given the perfect storm, you run on second down, you don't make it, get back to the line of scrimmage, you throw on third down, either a touchdown or an incompletion. You set yourself up for fourth down with, whatever seconds left, 15, 20 seconds left. You can either run or pass. And that's the difference between being being a good coach, right? I mean, if you throw on third down and it's incomplete. Now you can run or throw on third down, but if you don't get it on third down, that clock is ticking. You do still have a timeout left, so theoretically you could have really run, knowing you had that timeout left. But it was just, they just froze, or they just, it was a bad decision. That was it. But I don't think it was ever an agenda. I really don't. So next one down memory lane is how about Bill Belichick? Speaking of Belichick, this time not with the Patriots, but back this funny little story. It goes about a minute, not long. He used to be defensive coordinator with the Giants when Bill Parcells was there. LT, their championship run. So one time LT was actually late for practice. Why would you start if you're in a position where you have to punish a guy that you really don't want to, right? Don't start the meeting, dope. Just make sure he's there before you start the meeting, so you don't have to call him out or not call him out and look pretty poor. So anyway, kind of funny there. A couple let me get to the Twitter board here or the YouTube board. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button, and we can go back and forth with a couple of these things. Mick up in Minnesota. Thurman was my favorite player as a kid. I was at my grandparents' house when I heard the news that he died. I was completely devastated. Yeah, he was one of the absolute more popular New York Yankees. Between him and then Reggie Jackson, the little war they had. But that was the good old Yankee days. But yeah, I'll never forget that day as a little kid too. Same thing. Just it's like, wow, can't believe that. Crazy. What do we got here? Triple Crown Racing. Oh, hey, Scott, check out the research on the steroids affecting the heart and the growth of the heart. I think these athletes know this, and the more strenuous they are with workouts, steroids will kill. I don't doubt. I mean, I know there is, the Jose Canseco's of the world that swear by these things. Take it for what it's worth. But, his main premise was, you can't be drinking, you can't be smoking, you can't be doing other drugs. He says that's what causes really all the issues when you combine the two. But if you just stick to steroids, he says, everything is good. So I'm guessing, Mr. Triple Crown Racing here, you're saying steroids are you think that these are good for you? I think these athletes know this, and the more strenuous they are with workouts, steroids kill. Okay, so no, you're not obviously good with that. So, yeah, I believe it. I do. Theragolds, our good buddy Zach in Jerusalem. Major League Baseball should step in and not allow this trade. All right. There is a precedent for them doing this. They stopped the A's from dumping all their talent back in the mid-'70s. Yes, you're right about that. In one of those trades, Joe Rudy and Raleigh Fingers we're going to go to the Boston Red Sox in a trade. And they traded away Sal Bando and a couple of other guys when they just dumped that World Championship team. But that's not, what is happening here. Detroit is in last place, or next to last place anyway, just ahead of Kansas City. So there's no reason for Major League Baseball to step in because they think that they're trying to dump players. Major League, they would have to have more of a reason. This is not like in the 70s with that stuff, late 70s. So, no, this is just a team giving up on the season and, just saying it is what it is. We want to get some prospects. But again, as I pointed out, I don't get why, they would get a first-round pick, a pick at the end of the first round. So, in essence, a first-round pick. So, you can get a prospect. The last prospect they got, is a nobody, just a complete throw-in, 17th in the Dodger depth chart. And the middle guy is a 28-year-old reliever or a 28-year-old pitcher. Any pitcher that's 28 years old, still in the minors, I mean, how good, honestly, can he be? So he sucks. And they got one guy who is the 5th-ranked player in the Dodgers farm system. You tell me your first-round pick, player number 31, can't be better than that? And you get, Skubal for the entire season? Yeah, I don't believe it. I just don't. I think Major League Baseball stepped in and said, no, we need the Dodgers to win the World Series. So if you're going to trade the dude, I don't think they forced them to trade him. But I think they said, if you're going to trade him, you got to trade him to the Dodgers. We got to get something positive out of this. So we don't want you trading them to Milwaukee and have the Brewers win the World Series or Cleveland or Tampa Bay, God forbid. because that'll just stifle our argument about how the system has to change. How could we say the system has to change when we got, the teams, with the third, fourth, fifth, or sixth lowest payroll winning the World Series? I mean, we look stupid. We could only say the system needs to change if we have the team with the highest payroll winning. I'm telling you, it makes sense. That package was worthless, just absolutely worthless. You can't convince me that another team wasn't willing to give up more. I don't believe it. Or, Major League Baseball told all the owners, listen, this is what we're going to do. You want to buy in? Yeah, okay. You know what, Tampa Bay? If you don't want that ceiling, you don't want that floor, then you got to play ball with this. Don't trade for this guy. Milwaukee, same thing. So, yeah, I don't think it. It's not, like I said, one of those where people have to step in and say, no, you can't do this trade. That's not that lopsided. So WNBA, we can't go a full show without ripping on the WNBA, right? Who knew? It was the trade deadline yesterday. We were talking, baseball trade deadline today, right? Thinking through, and the baseball trade or the WNBA trade deadline was yesterday. So instead of talking trades and stuff, what are we talking about? Transgender males being in the WNBA, Sophie Cunningham, Caitlin Clark, all the conspiracies and the bad refereeing. Like the last thing anyone is talking about is the trade deadline, which should supersede all this stuff. That's how bad this dopey league is. So, we talked last week, Cunningham, said the normal thing. Didn't go out on a limb, not saying anything crazy. All she said was transgender males. So in other words, males who want to pretend they're females shouldn't be allowed to be in female sports. I don't know what nitwit would ever really argue with that. But, God forbid someone should go out on a limb and take a little bit of an anti-woke stand. And you're so worried about the dopey woke community, right? So they asked the Fever head coach, who obviously is, used to dealing with the stuff off the court with all the Caitlin Clark stuff. What was her opinion about what one of her, women said?
What is your stance on men or athletes who test as biological male participating in women's sports? What's your personal stance?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I would say that I'm educated enough from a scientific standpoint. I don't ever believe that exclusion is an answer. I just don't. I do think, when we think about various levels of sport, various governing bodies of sport and things that go into that, like I said, I'm not educated enough at the different levels. I know growing up, I played with the boys all the time.
So
there weren't girl sports.
Would you welcome a biological male in WNBA?
Again, it's like, I don't know, when we talk about biological male and scientifically where we are, I think it's a totally different scenario. As I said, I'm not educated enough in terms of transgender and transitioning to give you a smart answer. I would say, though, that I just don't feel like exclusion is an answer, and I think that we need to have deeper, more layered conversations.
And you'd be okay with them in the locker room?
Everybody, Andy goes.
Yeah. Is there any?
Wow, is she one stupid broad or what? Wow, she's so woke concerned. She's either so woke concerned or she's just stupid. You pick which one. It's not the end of the world for you to say, I don't want a guy in our like. I don't think she ever answered that question, right? I'm not educated enough. You don't know the difference between a man and a female? Really? Just because she takes the person takes a couple of hormone shots, that doesn't change her into a female. He's still a male. And you don't know the difference between a male and a female. That's what you're telling me. You're highly educated. You're a coach in the WNBA. You deal with a bunch of lesbians. You deal with a bunch of straight people. And you've been through all the rigors. And you don't know the difference between a male and a female. Or you're too afraid to give your opinion. Which one is it? Right? Just because you tell people you can't play as a woman doesn't mean you're ridiculing them or throwing away, casting them aside. Just like, listen, dude, you're a guy. You want to pretend you're a female, knock yourself out, but you're a guy. You can't play. Sorry. Go try and play. Go be a female in the NBA. That's your answer. That's your answer. Not join the WNBA. Go be a male in the NBA. See how well you do. It's just like she's. I don't think she's going to be head coach of Indiana next year. I really don't. Between this and between Caitlin Clark and all the other stuff, that she's failed as a leader, not X's and O's and not even wins and losses, just failed as a leader to take control of the situation. It just, and we've talked about this before. When the WNBA, no one cared about it. Well, they did and said whatever they wanted. Who cares? Knock yourself out, whatever. Okay, have crazy views. Who cares? When you become mainstream, as they've become because of Caitlin Clark, and you start getting the scrutiny on what you say and what you do and how you dress and how you do this and how you do that, it's a whole different ballgame. And if you can't handle it, it's going to implode. And the WNBA is in the process of imploding. I'm telling you, it's only a matter of time before these sponsors just say, you know what? It's not worth it. It is just not worth it. We'll let our advertising contract run out, and then we'll just move on to something else because there's nothing but controversy. Just nothing. No one's talking about the dopey league. Like I said, trade deadline was yesterday. Who knew? Who knew? Right? No one's talking about the league. They're talking about the players and all the controversies. You just shut it down. If you're that coach, you just say, listen, you know what? If a player wants to play, let's see. We'll let them make the team. Or no, they can't play because they're really not a female. All it would take, as far as this actual argument, is to have 4 or 5 dudes say they're women. Right? If you don't want to exclude anybody, if that's your mantra in life, knock yourself out. But okay, let's have 4 or 5 dudes just say, yeah, I'm a female and I'm going to play in the WNBA. Then we'll see, how many people. We need, as much as Sophie's gotten, or Sophia, whatever, has gotten support, we need even overwhelming support. We need to stop these dopey head coaches wearing transgender people or whatever the one from Minnesota wore yesterday. No, you need to be smart about this. Don't hang out with the freaks, man. Why does the WNBA want to hang out with the freaks? Crazy. And then the other one, get female out of sports. I've told you this before, and I'll tell you it again. There's a female judge that is responsible for all these stupid rulings pertaining to college sports about being paid and NIL. It's one female judge that opened up the Pandora's box to all these issues. And then again over the weekend, maybe it was on Friday, late Friday after our show, federal court ruled that all high school class 2022 athletes who used up their 4 years of eligibility will now get a 5th season this upcoming calendar year, 2026-27. U.S. District Judge Charlotte Sweeney in Denver says, yep, you want to play sports for 5 years, even though we've been playing sports for 4 years, or at least eligible for 4 years, barring, red shirt. We've been doing this for 4 years, for 100 years. And you know what? I feel like making a name for myself. Let's give all the athletes 5 years. Why not? Do you like sports, Charlotte? Nah, I don't even know how to spell sports. What is a sport? I'm not even sure. NBC? How do you spell NBA? How do you spell NCAA? NCAI or something like, What are you doing? What are you doing? Why stop at 5? Right? Why not just go 6? You know that's what's going to happen. Some kid who can't go pro, who's making $1 million NIL money, is going to go to court and say, listen, if I want to go to school for 6 years and get my bachelor's degree, I'm allowed to do that. So if I could do that, why can't I play 6 years of sports? And you're going to get dopey Charlotte Sweeney in Denver saying, you know what? I think you're right. Go ahead. Play another year. Who am I to say no? I don't even watch sports. Man, it just don't even, we were talking about this on the podcast. There's got to come a point in time, and I'm talking like when I say stuff like this, normally it's like, 5-10 years from now. We're talking within the next year or two, literally. There's just going to be no college athlete. You're not even going to have to go to college. You're going to come to Alabama. You're going to come to Ohio State. You're going to come to wherever. We're going to pay you to play. You're going to represent our school, but you're not going to have to really go to school. Simple as that. That's happening. That'll be the next step. And if you want to play 6 years, 7 years, who knows how long they'll allow you now? Go ahead. You're all making your money. You don't have to play in the NFL or Major League Baseball or NBA. Make your money here in college, stay in college, and represent, the University of Tennessee or University of Georgia, wherever. That's where it's going. I don't know when it's ever going to stop, because you have judges that just keep on giving these rules, these freedoms to these athletes. It's nuts. It really is nuts. I mean, just like I'd like to hear from, the people that were in the plane, I'd like to hear from this person. Someone do a sit down, Barstool Sports or whatever. Go get this, somebody in Denver, KOA radio. Go get this woman, Charlotte, and just say, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're ruining, one step further into a hole where college sports are going to disappear. Crazy. So now they got 5 years to play football or basketball or whatever. Again, how long before it goes to 6? Michael, don't forget to buy a Powerball ticket for Scott, $2. What is the Powerball now? I know we've included another country. Is it still $2? That's pretty good. How much is the Powerball worth? That's what I would like to know. If it's not, I'll be one of those guys. If it's not $100 million, I don't need $99 million. Who needs $99 million? I need more than that. All right, our plays for today. You want to get one more break in here, Tim? Yeah, we'll do one more break.
Yeah.
Get one more break in. I got our plays for the day. I got our video. We'll leave you with this, which you won't want to miss. Good little brawl. And a couple little tidbits as well. All coming up right here on the Scott Wetzel Show, FanStreamSports.com.
Hi, golfers. IndyCar Tim here. I want to talk to you a little bit about Golf Central Magazine. It's not just a golf magazine. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Head over to golfcentralmag.com and check out the latest issue. Some of the regular features in Golf Central Magazine: the Golf Bachelorette of the Month, the Golf Bachelor of the Month, the Golf Cart Girl of the Month, Golf History, Grip It and Sip It. So head over to golfcentralmag.com. It's free. It's the magazine for everything: turf, travel, philanthropy, and lifestyle. Golf Central Magazine at golfcentralmag.com. We'll see you there.
Hey, folks, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center, a very different kind of approach to primary care. Personalized preventative medicine, not a one-pill-fits-all mentality. Christopher Lugo and his experienced medical staff are proactive in looking at issues before they become a problem, encouraging a healthy lifestyle with proper diet, supplements, and exercise to optimize your active lifestyle. Rather than the impersonal, rushed approach, you will be the only patient and will have our full attention. That's new. Getting old is inevitable, but feeling and looking old is avoidable. Bay Area Modern Medical Centers are experts in anti-aging regenerative medicine that optimizes your body's performance in many areas. So call for an appointment to get started on a journey back to full health and a happy life with a new, modern way of healthcare. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com.
Today's show is brought to you by Tomstown, a premier craft distillery based in Kansas City, Missouri. Discover their award-winning lineup, including double oaked bourbon, botanical gin, and double grain vodka, named the best craft vodka by the readers of USA Today. Available for online delivery in 40 states. Visit toms-town.com or their Kansas City distillery to explore more. Elevate your game with Tomstown, where history meets innovation. Please enjoy responsibly.
Hello, folks. Let's talk a little bit about turf life. And what is turf life? It's pretty much if your life involves turf in any way, shape, or form, you live the turf life. Go ahead and brand yourself with the turf life. Maybe a back window decal, maybe a hat. You know where you can get those kinds of things to showcase that your life revolves around sports and or anything that involves sports. If it's a sports business or sports education or just your enjoyment of the outdoors, head over to turflifeclub.com. Become a turf head. Join the club today. You can do that by going to that said website that I just told you to go to. You can snag your window decal like I was talking about, or any of your other turf life accessories. Show everybody that you live the turf life, and we'll see you there over there at that turflifeclub.com.
Although it may seem tempting to go without healthcare insurance, the financial risk far outweighs the gain you may experience. For example, did you know if you simply broke your leg, it could cost you nearly $7,500? Put on top of that a hospital stay, you could be looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Ensuring that you don't go uncovered is so important, as according to CNBC, high medical bills are the highest contributing factor to why Americans end up taking money out of their retirement savings, or worse, find themselves filing bankruptcy. So go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. Now, depending on your income, you can get plans for zero premium. Our experts will guide you through the process effortlessly. They will shop many plans and find the one that's right for you. I called and I have full health coverage through Florida Blue for zero monthly premium. It's a free call. So why go uncovered? It's a huge risk. Go to don'tgouncovered.com or call 800-669-1505. That's 800-669-1505.
Orion Golf Management Solutions. Orion Management Solutions has tailored its service packages just like it tailors its approach to customers. Some owners need more supervision, while others need periodic assessment of their short-term and long-term strategies and programs. Orion can be called in to develop a business plan with the existing staff, or we can assist with the daily management of a facility or event. Either way, we make sure the client is satisfied and understands the direction the facility needs to go in order to achieve the owner's goals. Orion Management Solutions can help with owner assistance service solutions, daily course management, business plan development, monthly operations, or as-needed consulting services. Whatever your need, Orion Golf Management Solutions can help. Check out oriongolf.com.
Let's go. Right now, back to the show on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back. It is the Scott Wetzel Show right here on FanStreamSports.com on a Monday, August 3rd. Yours truly sitting in a few more minutes or so. We got some picks to give out and leave you with this good video that we always like to show at the end of the shows. The Red Sox trade, although not yet confirmed by the deal, but the RedSox.com is saying that, and this goes back to Tarik Skubal. Now, Skubal is going to be a free agent at the end of the year. And Rushman is under contract for one more year. Big difference, I get that. But Tarik Skubal is a hell of a lot better as a pitcher than Rushman is as a catcher, right? I mean, the guy's a 250 hitter. So the Red Sox are supposedly giving up their number 2 prospect, their number 4 prospect, their number 5 prospect, and a player to be named later. The Dodgers' highest player they gave up out of the 3 is a number 5. Red Sox are giving up one more player, and they're giving up 3 guys out of their top 5, supposedly in their farm system. For a catcher who, he's a bit of a name, but is he really any good? No. But again, he doesn't got one more year left on his contract, which is big. I get that. But that's a pretty good haul for a far superior player than what the Dodgers had to give up for Skubal. So it kind of go back to what I said about my conspiracy. I'm telling you, man, you're going to see some deals made today. It's like, why in the world wouldn't the teams give up that for Skubal then? That deal has got written all over it. It really does. So let me check any other deals that jump off the page baseball-wise. Trade deadline this afternoon. I think it's 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. Phillies did get Louis Arise. We talked about that. Boy, the dude hits nothing but 300, and he just keeps on getting traded, going from team to team. That's a real good pickup by the Philadelphia Phillies. I do like that. The Rushman deal for the Red Sox. Padres get Robbie Ray. That's interesting. I didn't think pitching was their problem. Last year of a contract. That's pretty good. He'll be a free agent at the end of this year. Again, let's just see out of real curiosity how many people they gave up. They're not saying in the article. God, I hate the 4-letter network. They really just it's not saying. Make it $23 million. Okay, here we go. In exchange, Giants will get Yaniel Hernandez and Miguel Mendez. Let's see. Hernandez is a guy from the minors, 17-year-old shortstop, signed out of Cuba, whatever. And the other dude is a pitcher who is yet to be in the big leagues as well. So 2 minor leaguers for San Francisco's best pitcher. Wow. Anything else? Blue Jays get Jose Soriano, which is weird because they traded Kevin Gausman yesterday. So they get Soriano, which means they're not giving up. But then why would they have traded Gausman, right? So we'll go over some of these tomorrow. Tampa Bay gets the Miami Marlins catcher Hicks. Joe Adell goes to the Guardians. Not a bad deal. And the Mariners pick up Taylor Ward. So nothing crazy. As for plays tonight, so nice little run we're on. I got 3 for you tonight that I think can't miss. Let's go under 8 St. Louis and the Yankees. Yankees can't hit their way out of a paper bag right now. And St. Louis is the number 1 under team in all of baseball. 63, 43, and 6. So 20 more unders than overs for the St. Louis Cardinals. So 8 is your number, not 7.5. So you need to get 9 runs in order to lose this bet. I don't see this game getting 9 runs. I really don't. So let's go under 8 St. Louis and the Stankies. How about Houston? This is one of those no-brainer picks. Every once in a while, you got to put in no-brainer picks. Astros 11-1 last 12 games. I mean, let's ride them until they lose 2 in a row. They're playing Toronto. I don't know what that Blue Jay locker room is like with guys coming and going. It's got to be a mismatch right now. So Astros in a pretty good spot. I'll take Houston laying only $125 at home, no less. And then I'll go over 4.5 Washington Nationals team runs. They're not playing well, Washington, but they're still the number 1 over team in all of baseball. And one of our favorite whipping boys, Aaron Nola, is on the hill for the Philadelphia Phillies. So I'll take my chances. We're getting plus odds on that as well. So give me over 4.5 runs, Washington Nationals against pathetic Aaron Nola. If for some reason Nola doesn't start, then don't make the bet. So under Stankies, Houston, and then over 4.5 runs, Washington Nationals. Don't worry about them winning or losing because they can easily lose this thing 7-6. So let's take the winning and losing out of the equation. And if they do win, chances are that they get 5 runs. I don't think they get less than that. Theragold, Zach says either they trade for a guy on the IL or he goes right on after he arrives. That is true. I will say that is, that's been the Red Sox way. For all the good things that they've done, that seems to be the case. Not only this year, but last year as well. So I looked up the Powerball, $2 still, worth $748 million. They have something called double play. I've not played Powerball and Lotto. The Lotto, they jacked up to like $5. It's ridiculous, but Powerball is still $2. So if you play another $1, they have a second drawing. I don't know. Maybe it's half the value. I can't imagine it being the full value. What if someone wins the first one? So I'm not sure how that works, but it's $2 still, and it's $748 million. And if you take the cash out right away, it's $325 million. So I take the 748 myself, but do as you wish, whichever way. Let's just get some winners. Maybe we'll hand out some numbers starting tomorrow. We'll do it today, but starting tomorrow, we'll definitely hand out some numbers. So that's let me check the leaderboard here, as the saying goes, and check out the little Twitter action, see if anything crazy is going on that I want to bring up. Nothing crazy there. I see Aaron Rodgers ripping the 4-letter network, which is a beautiful thing. Anything else? Boy, so many people retweeted that. He must have really killed him. I see Clay Travis has put up $10 million. He's going to bet the high school boys team of his choice to play the Las Vegas Aces, the WNBA 2-time champions. And he says that he'll put up $10 million if the Aces beat the boys team. That they would beat the boys team. They would not. There's really very little debate on that anymore. I don't think anyone with a quarter of a brain would sit there and tell you that a women's team would be able to beat the boys team, even a high school team. It's just women admit to that now. So why they would not want to, exclude guys is, like I said, the first time it happens, then it'll be like, you know what? They were right. Simple as that. I told you about the Bubik trade going to the LA Dodgers. Another left-handed pitcher there. Jerry Jones talking about maybe selling a portion of the Dallas Cowgirls, huh? Wow. How about that? Apparently, Jacob deGrom, the Texans. Why would Texas want to trade Jacob deGrom? They're right there in the thick of things. But apparently, the Braves checked in, and Talking Baseball reports that he invoked his no trade clause. So don't know if that's true or not, but that's kind of interesting that he wouldn't want to be moved. And even more interesting that they would actually try and move him, to tell you the truth. So other than that, I think that's basically it. So it's kind of the same old. So we will leave you with this. I always like to send you off on a good little video. So we've had some real doozers. Take a look at this one, though. You talk about a baseball brawl.
Al primer picheo el contacto a terrenos del Tornillo, que no puede quedarse con ella de primera, después se entrega con Félix, regresa. ¡Epa!
¡Epa! ¡Epa! What does that mean? I don't know.
Dan Vázquez y el Tornillo Amador, salta todo el mundo.
Down he goes.
Hay un show grande en el terreno de juego del Toros Mobile Park.
Y golpes.
No se hablaron mucho, ¿eh? A la primera llegaron los golpes.
Bueno, lo que sí veo es a un Dan Vázquez que
está también All right. Little ground.
Al primer picheo el contacto a terrenos del Tornillo.
Not a crazy tag here, right?
Primera, después se entrega con Félix, regresa.
¡Epa!
Y wow, hay golpes ahí por parte de Dan Vázquez y el Tornillo Amador. Salta todo el mundo, cuidado.
And then the guy over
Hay
at
un
first
show
base
grande
comes
en
in
el
and
terreno
clocks
de
that
juego
dude.
del Toros Mobile Park.
Y golpes.
No se hablaron mucho, ¿eh? A la primera llegaron los golpes.
Damn.
Bueno, lo que sí veo es a un Dan Vázquez que está también por allá, Donis Medina.
These Mexican brawls, those are brawls. Major League Baseball brawls, they're
otros
nothing.
también están tratando
these
de...
Mexican brawls, boy, they get their money's worth out of those things. What, a guy just came in and just clocked. He only did was just tag him. I don't know if he was sleeping with his wife or something, and he was just waiting for that to happen. I don't know. A little Ryan Sandberg action, but he did. Wow. And then the other guy from first base came in and gave him a roundhouse, so he got clocked himself. Now that's a baseball brawl. If you got to do it the right way, right? So I'll leave you one more little story here. I brought this up on the podcast. I don't know if I brought it up here. You guys remember George Santos? He was a Long Island representative, House of Reps, got voted in about 2 years ago. So turns out he lied. Everything on his resume, being a graduate of like Harvard. Meanwhile, he went to National Community College. Like everything was a complete lie. And then nobody ever checked up on it, right? He actually got voted to the House of Representatives until finally someone checked in and found out he was a complete fraud. He fought it, but gave up everything else. So then about 2, 3, 4, 5 months ago, there was a bet on Kalshi on whether he was going to go visit the White House. And he was telling people, yeah, I'm going. And then he bet on himself to not show up. And he obviously didn't show up. And he made thousands of dollars on it. How much money? 17,000. CFTC said that Santos made profits totaling $17,569. So almost $17,500 betting on himself to not go. Not a bad little scam, right? You tell the whole world you're going, and then you end up not going. That's the kind of crook this dude is. So he got fined. That's all he got was fined. Like if you think of fine, he's got to pay back the money he won. Big stinking deal, right? That's it. That's his penalty. Pay back $17,500. No jail time, no whatever. His account was closed. Big stinking deal. When that's all that happens, that doesn't stop anyone else from trying to do the same thing. They'll just tweak it a little bit, get a buddy to do it, get a relative to do it, get a neighbor to do it. But, man, that's not a bad way to make some money. Let me make a proclamation about I'm going to be somewhere, go somewhere, say something, and then just not. And then have my neighbor make, $20,000 and we split it $10,000 apiece. What a fraud. I tell you, people are they're all crooks. Just crooks. So Anyway, good job by the listeners, viewers today. Do appreciate the back and forth. Make sure, hit that subscribe button, please. No big deal. Just makes it a lot easier for you to see the shows and everything else. If you want to see previous shows, go to fanstreamsports.com. That is fanstreamsports.com. All the previous shows are there. We are here Monday through Friday, 2 to 4 p.m., right around between 3:30 and 4 o'clock, about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And then football season will definitely go 2 hours. That'll be a lot of fun. So enjoy the rest of your Monday, folks. Be safe. Stay out of the rain and pour here in New York. Stay dry, that is for sure. And we'll talk to you tomorrow right here on FanStream Sports.